And what up, you guys? Welcome back to Feral Publications YouTube channel. The channel talk about zines and DIY publishing. For the uninitiated, I publish a comic book zine anthology called Feral Comics with underground subversive humor comics and other sci-fi and weird stuff that I just want to publish. If you guys are interested, the link will be in the show notes. But today I want to talk about Shadowhawk's Vampirella Creature of the Night. It was a 2-issue series. I just have the one on me right now. But I went on a Shadowhawk binge because I like the character Shadowhawk. I thought Jim Valentino's character was cool. I really enjoyed more of the violence and the gore in the Jim Valentino comics, and I really gravitated to it. And this was in February 1995, so this was a little bit later in the Image story in the saga. And it was a team up with Jim Valentino's Shadow line and the Harris publisher, which I guess had Vampirella. Love this cover too, right? Tell me that cover doesn't look beast mode. Love this like little body fat that they put on her. This was amazing. But I just, and I'm not gonna lie, the writing is still not the best, right? And this I think sums it up. You are now truly one with your avian namesake. You have become the hawk, and as you fly into the sweet beast of darkness, you become a shadow. You are a Shadowhawk. And tonight, as the hunger is like, why wouldn't you just leave it there? Like, you are Shadowhawk, and that's it. And they do the same thing for Vampirella, right? She will teach him how best to use his newfound powers and abilities. She is Vampirella, and she now must warn him of the Lords of Chaos, lest he fall into their dark. It's like, just cut it there, bro. She is Vampirella. But yeah, I love this art. This is one of those things that, like, you can tell, like, they straight up rip Spawn with the messed up cape and all that stuff. But this was a page right here that really made me like, man, I want to talk about this, because he basically does his iteration of the Batman origin story, but their superhero stops it. And this is one of those storytelling motives that I liked, that I feel like not enough superhero adjacent stories really deal with that, the mistakes that superheroes do, and kind of that philosophical point of like, is it okay or is it not? He doesn't deal with the philosophical aspect of it either, but I love the idea of like this superhero not knowing how strong he is, trying to push the perp away and inadvertently throwing him to a wall where he basically is smushed like a bug and dies. And that for me is a good premise of like, there should be the issue where Peter Parker unknowingly kills a perp that literally we don't dish out the death penalty for theft, you know what I mean? And he accidentally kills that perp. And the idea becomes, what is his, philosophical standings that allow him to think or feel that he can still function and make these decisions? By this point, I had already started seeing Faust comics and some of the Crows and Evil Ernie and like just like things that had more grit. So, when you start reading things like this, you're just like, hell yeah, man! Like this is where it's at. And Jim Valentino's comics, for the most part, always kind of read like that, like very bloody and gruesome. And this one adds actually something that we're usually missing from the Jim Valentino comics. Most of the Image comic book creators always have females in their comics, scantily clad females, and as a young fella, like, yeah, for sure, man, that shit pulled me their way. But Jim Valentino's art never really relied on that. It relied more on just the action of it and the brutality of it. Like, I think that's going to be something that really Jim Valentino's going to be known more for, is kind of like he really pushed the line as far as he could of having like really bloody, gory kind of comics in that Image founding like group. I don't think anything read as bloody or gory as Jim Valentino's work did. And this is Jim Valentino when he's already kind of learned how to use Shadowhawk. He's already done a few iterations. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. I like this actually. This works really well. That whole portion of it. And he's executing like on a high level with this character, because this is his dude now. Like he understands them. This isn't Shadowhawk 1, this isn't Shadowhawk 2, this isn't Shadowhawk 3, right? This is the end result of all that trial and tribulation, because Jim Valentino for the most part was trying to figure out the character of Shadowhawk when Image was founded, and it took him a while to really dial that in, but this is him dialed in, and I love him as a vampire. Unapologetic about them having sex. I was all about this, man. But like I said, the writing in this, just not that good, man. Like, it's just crazy to me how it's like broad daylight, and then when they're flying, it looks like night, you know? And here goes some of like the banter. Like, this stuff just sucks, right? Shadowhawk, there's a bunch of heavily armed costume creeps moving toward the stage. I see them, Vampy. Obviously, there are targets. Not so obvious if you have to state it, Shadowhawk. And for the reader that read the last 4 or 5 pages, we already know what they're up to when we see them. You don't have to tell us any of this. It's just wasting space, honestly. But like I said, like, we're here for the art. And tell me that these characters, when I saw this, you know, I reread the Faust comics not too long ago. I'm like, man, this looks... Now that I'm looking at it, like Jim Valentino was ripping off Faust and other folks, you know? It feels like Faust, Spawn got ripped, Wolverine, there was that Batman segment. There's just so much in this, but honestly, I like this comic. And like I said, I like the Shadowhawk character. Setting up the big bad for the next issue or the next arc. The heroes go their separate ways, but they know deep down inside they may become enemies once again. And for those of you guys that aren't too familiar with the Shadowhawk story, Shadowhawk basically had AIDS and went on this long adventure through the Image verse to find a cure. And basically the cure was him becoming this vampire. And now he's realized that, you know what, he doesn't want anybody who has AIDS to suffer and to slowly decay and die. And so he's going to cure all the AIDS patients by making them these vampires, which, you know, obviously it doesn't make sense, or it might not be a good thing to create a horde of vampires in the city. But this story was great. The art was great. And I just wanted to show it off, man. Jim Valentino, I don't think Jim Valentino gets enough love in the world for the stuff that he's contributed to the Image comics and just to comic books in general, man. So, if you never picked up a Shadowhawk comic, the Shadowhawk Vampirella team up, definitely worth the look. But alright, guys, as always, please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget about Feral Comics, the comic book zine anthology that I publish. Link will be in the show notes if you want to buy a single issue, some of the back issues, or get the year subscription so you never miss an issue. Alright, guys, thanks so much. Lates.